Hey everybody, what's going on? I am Jamie Dawn, your evolutionary revolutionary astrologer, bringing you your celestial wisdom video for the week of February 28th through March the 7th, 2021. And we are just coming off of this full moon in Virgo, which may have had us releasing a lot of, say, toxic energies, people, situations. It may have just had us sitting there kind of looking in our own proverbial closets, maybe literally, and saying, does this still fit? Is it still useful? Is it not? And we're doing a lot of this sorting back and forth to be able to, figure out what is actually useful or what is serving us. So here we are with, of course, looking at what we've sorted through. Venus also now in Pisces. She entered Pisces just before this full moon occurred, most likely activating the area of relationship, finances, some of the things that we value, as Venus has a tendency to attract those certain energies into our lives. And that is what she embodies, because she is sort of the embodiment of love and beauty and harmony and peace. And she also has this wonderful ability to be able to help us dream a little bit. She's influencing us here in Pisces as sort of the cosmic dreamer. And she also has a way of attracting maybe some compassionate and healing and loving situations for us. So often that can be translated through relationship, or it can also be that we get triggered by a situation or a person. And so this is where you could apply it maybe to the financial world, where a certain situation financially may have occurred. You get that unexpected bill or somebody coming back that says, hey, you owe me this and you didn't expect it. It can have an opportunity to heal. Maybe if you had fears around abundance or you had worry around your financial situation, that Venus in Pisces can give you some hope and faith that this can be resolved through a compassionate resolution. Now, the other thing about Venus that most people tend to avoid talking about is that Venus is the archetype that is provoked to jealousy. And so if for some reason this full moon incurred some sort of feelings of intensity around jealousy with, say, somebody being more spiritual or more beautiful, or they seem to have their stuff together and you don't, when a situation shows up, that could have been triggered for you to be able to look at where in your life you may be sabotaging yourself because you're comparing with others of what they have versus what you have. The other thing now with Venus and Pisces, and this may continue not just at this full moon, but ongoing, is that we may attract more of the wounded or those that need rescuing, or we think they need rescuing. We may be attracted to those situations, which certainly has its merit, because it's important for us, like I was mentioning, about sharing our gifts and being of service and things like that, that we have people that we can be of service to, or situations that we can insert our skills and our gifts. However, what we have to be careful of, and Venus in Pisces can really make this more active, especially because the sun is also in Pisces, is that we may end up either overgiving, being easily taken advantage of because we're not setting clear boundaries or expectations. We're just rescuing, we're just jumping in. And so we have to be careful. And it's not so much of the jumping in as much as it's, we like wearing the rose-colored glasses. Maybe we paint a picture that is actually prettier than what the reality is really showing us. And so there's this dance that's going to be happening this week where we look at reality and we say, does this line up with my values? Does it line up with what I ultimately see in my future? And if it doesn't, am I willing to kind of play the game, if you will. Some of us may willingly wear these rose-colored glasses because it just feels good. And, we've been under such heavy energy that I would say give yourself permission, if it makes sense, if it doesn't hurt you or somebody else, to just go with the flow and let the games be played for a little bit, let yourself fantasize and dream and paint that pretty picture. The only danger that you can run into, I wouldn't say only, but one of the dangers that you could run into with this is that you lose yourself in the fantasy land and you lose your footing. So grounding is going to be super, super important, especially because we have Mars, Venus's cosmic lover, moving into Gemini on Wednesday this week, forming a sextile, or excuse me, Venus will sextile Uranus during this time. And so we're going to have this sudden movement and this sudden motion to want to express and talk about this beautiful imagery and fantasy that we've created. There may be a lot of talk and not a lot of action if we're not careful. And I would say that with Mars also moving into Gemini, this is an opportunity for us to drive our passions forward using our words. The only thing is we may end up with a little diarrhea of the mouth. It's very strongly indicated with Mars in Gemini that we could get a little scattered or unfocused because we're bored. And so we create these fantasy lands to keep us entertained, especially as we're working from home so much and we're in front of the computer or we're doing the mundane stuff. So we may decide, hey, I'm just going to create some alternate reality because I don't want to be in this space. Now, I will say, though, this week can have a lot more of emphasis on things like alternate realities. If we're looking at, I was thinking about how for my son's birthday this year, he got the Oculus, which is the virtual reality. And it's a really cool thing. I played with him. And it was interesting to see how it really does take you almost to this literal live, you think this is a real kind of thing. And I would say that with Mars in Gemini, Venus in Pisces, making the sextile to Uranus this week, we're going to have moments where we get taken to an alternate reality. It'll be good if we're looking for some unusual situations and solutions, because we also have Jupiter and Mercury canoodling, which gives us some good news. It can open and expand our mind, and we can deal with things from an objective view, which I think is fantastic. But like I say, the thing that I feel really strongly that many of us could lose is our grounding, meaning coming back to the body, coming back to the earth, being really settled. So pay attention this week in particular if you get obsessed, if you will, around your thoughts, around your opinions, especially as Mars in Gemini really wants to verbally process things. And besides the fact that Mars is this passionate, driven energy, and it wants this fresh change of pace when it's in Gemini, it also can use words to harm. It can use words as a weapon. So just notice, and I've talked about this in previous videos, just notice how when you are talking or when you're listening to somebody else and what they say, how easily it is to take their words as truth or take it personally. So remember that our words can either harm or heal. And Mars in Gemini can be very healing, especially if we are verbally processing our emotions and what we're working with. It's a great time to work with a therapist or a counselor or a coach, and to be able to verbally go through what's happening in your mind so that you can settle back into the body. I will say also, as Mars is in Gemini, we may have this nervousness energy, and that can cause us to, get fidgety. It can cause us to, I talk with my hands. I don't have Mars in Gemini natally, but I do talk with my hands a lot. I have Venus in Gemini, so that can stir some things up there. But anyways, what I'm saying is there may be a lot of talk with our bodies, mostly with our hands as well. And there can also be we get really fired up, and a lot of debates will be happening. And I think that's great, especially if we're using our wit and our humor and that sort of thing. And we're using it as a tool for education so that we can learn more. We can deepen our relationships. We can deepen our understanding about subject matters that maybe we didn't know about before. And I think that this is something that we can really use the Mars and Gemini energy for, is to shake some things up and open up even greater awareness around subject matters. Let's not forget what's happening in the United States, at least, is that we are dealing with some difficult subjects still, whether we're talking about inequality, or we're talking about the pandemic, or how we treat each other, things like that. I think, even the politics, which can be very divisive right now, this week could show us ways in which we can come together and talk through it. The shadow side of that, of course, is that we will have quite a few heated debates, that the words become rather incensing. I was just thinking about I don't know if anybody watching this remembers last week, but there was the video that was released about the school board and how they were making fun of the parents. And that, even though Mars was still in Taurus at the time, it has a very good example of Mars in Gemini, because that also offers us a little bit of that inciting, that people making fun and these debates happening and that sort of thing. So anyways, and how our words can harm. So I just want to point that out as an example, that we really need to pay attention to what we're saying and how our words can affect others. The other thing with Mars and Gemini is we will be thriving on change. Mars in Gemini loves change, loves to scatter its energies. But what we need to do is two things. One, we need to be careful that we're not creating change for the sake of it, because then it turns into chaos, and that we're not scattering our energy so much that we can't accomplish anything. So it's really important that we make sure that we stay super focused on what we are trying to accomplish. The other thing that I will offer for this week, I mentioned it before, Mercury and Jupiter canoodling in Aquarius. So with Mercury canoodling in Jupiter, we have the expansive nature of Jupiter, and it is going to amplify Mercury. Now, both of them being in Aquarius means our minds will be amplified, our expressions with our words. Maybe we have a lot of enthusiasm about what we're thinking. I just want to point out too, Mercury and Jupiter canoodled back on February 14th. And in doing so, there may have been some internal dialogue, or maybe there was conversation happening behind the scenes, or there was some ideas technologically, scientifically, things like that, testing that was happening that we just don't have all the answers to yet. I think of the vaccine. This week with Mercury and Jupiter canoodling, we may start to see some results with some data coming out. We may be revisiting that particular subject matter, but in a new way, and one that maybe is more public or maybe more declarative. The other thing I would say is that with Mercury and Jupiter canoodling is that we could dream and think big, and we have this really high level of optimism, and it can help us to give that added boost of confidence we need to get our ideas out or to push our opinions out. The one thing we have to be careful of, and this is that Mars and Gemini, because there's going to be this trine going on with the Aquarius and Gemini energy, is that, remember I mentioned our words can harm or heal, and they can be used for inciting violence, or it can be inciting inspiration. It really just depends on what direction we go. Important that we watch out for getting on our soapbox, maybe being so opinionated because of Jupiter applying to Mercury like this, that the opinion could be so super strong that we just can't back down and we close down our minds. So there is that possibility. But I would venture to say more than not, many of us will get some good news during this time. Maybe that new job, maybe that confirmation of how your partner or your love interest may feel about you. Maybe you start planning for some long-term goals together. If you're coupled, if you're single, you get this good news of maybe a new partner or confirmation, like I say, that there is a similar experience or energy that you both feel. And I would also offer that this time could have you maybe wanting to learn a little bit more, gain some more knowledge. Some of you may be waiting to get acceptance into a school or a certification program. Maybe you're waiting on tuition to come in. This could be a good week that you receive that kind of information in a positive way. Most likely, this should be a very positive kind of news that we received this week. I think too, if I can leave you with this for the essence of this week's video, and that is, it should feel lighter. It should feel more objective, more airy, more fun-loving, and that should help you feel like there's great hope returning into the world. All right, you guys, I hope this video helps. I am so happy to connect with you. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to these videos, and find me at jamiedawn.com. I look forward to talking with you. Have a good week.